Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. College football, week 7. I'm all screwed up. Week 7 for today's the daily fantasy sports advice for the strategy show for Saturday. I'm all mixed up as we had a show last night. So, but we have a show tonight breaking down Saturday's main college football slate. Pete Cole here. I'm actually not sold tonight. I have my man Wes here with me. He's going to kind of bringing me along the slate game by game. He's our golf expert, actually also our Korean baseball expert over at YFC. So what's up, my man? It's been a while.
What's going on, Pete? Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been on the YouTube.
Yeah, and we used to do this every day, especially last year with MLB, all the primetime football last year. So finally we're back together. It's cool not to be solo, so I can take a break from my mouth every now and then. A lot going on here, actually, at your Fielder's Choice. And actually, it's got my new hoodie in, so you guys check out our new store. I like it. I like the colors. So check out our YFC material merch store, yourfielderschoice.com. $25 a month, the first 2 months. That includes all sports. If you don't know much about us, niche sports, small sports is our specialty. But, of course, you do the main sports like MLB is still our flagship. But we do every sport. If it's being covered by DraftKings, especially DraftKings, we cover it. And check out our Discord. It's free. We have a lot of free rooms, and we also have some premium rooms. But if you check out our winning lineups room lately, I mean, we're pretty much – I was just looking at that before we went on air. European hoops. All our guys, all I see is green today. There's DOTA, this esports. That's run by Eric, Big E, our esports guys. I got one of our guys just won some GVP and the DOTA 2. So that's esports. NHL, everybody cashing like last night. We got all the PrizePicks. We're cashing PrizePicks, esports, hockey. I'm still seeing more European hoops. I'm seeing CSGO. We had some good baseball winners this week at the playoffs, so we're still doing baseball content. NFL, of course, this weekend. Wes, you got golf, right? Golf started today, right?
Yeah. Golf started this morning for the CG tournament or CJ tournament. So far, all my plays are looking good, with the exception of the one I put in my lineup. But hey, we still got 4 more days.
Are you doing showdown?
Golf's been actually crushing it with Chris helping out doing his For the Win article to go along with my top plays. Gives everybody a few extra plays to look at. I mean, golf is going to be big this year. We're really crushing it. If they have an LPGA tournament, I'll be covering that too. So just keep.
I see
keep
Chris did take it down. He took down GVP a couple weeks ago. I saw that pop up. That was PGA.
Yeah.
Or NBA preseason. All I'm seeing is green here. MLB showdowns, and that just reminds me, shit. I didn't set a lineup for tonight's game. It's gonna be the first private game. Probably the first slate I didn't play this year, but I just had too much going on today. But soccer's back Saturday. I have tennis every day. NASCAR. We got the what do you call that? Auto Trader Echo Park 500. That's this weekend. Eric does that. Big E. So we had a good team. Good team developing now. We're actually got some new people coming on board. So check us out, yourfielderschoice.com. You'll be surprised. We do every college football slate. If there's a slate, we cover it. If there's a showdown, we do it Thursday night, Friday night. Also, of course, all the slates on Saturday. And we did a show last night, and I'm actually looking now. We actually are doing pretty well. I threw a name in a Discord before lock with the kid from Memphis, and then the 3K kid. And it was actually – he's actually doing real well. What's the kid's name? Eddie Lewis. So he's 3K. He actually already has 86 yards and a touchdown. So that was a nice value play today to pump everybody up. So tonight's slate should be going well so far.
Yeah. Y'all even covered the Tuesday showdown, didn't you? Aren't they having college on Tuesday now?
Yep. Yeah, the Appalachian State, Louisiana Lafayette game. So we love those. We love those midweek Sunbelt games. Missed the MAC midweek games last year, but we got plenty going on. 2 games tonight, tomorrow night, 4 games. There's a video on demand out for that. I did that last night. That was tonight's slate and Fridays in one. So check that out on demand before tomorrow's slate. And we're here for Saturday. It's another big ass slate on Saturday. And you know what? We're already at week 7 on college football. Week 7, we're almost, before you know it's going to be Thanksgiving, and then the season's over. Then it's bowl games. So we only have a few weeks left to make money. It's been a good year so far. I pretty much cashed pretty much every slate, I think, but the Brandon Lewis slate. That was like week 2 when I shoot the bet on that, being stupid when playing Brandon Lewis as one of my quarterbacks. But the main slates, we've been doing well. Just want to kind of keep that up. We're going to break down each game today. We're going to go game by game on a big one instead of positions like we did last night. But that's pretty much it, really. Let's get into it. So we're not gabbing on right here. Yeah. What's first game? What's first game we got? What's the odds?
All right. First game we got is Missouri at Texas A&M. We got an implied total of 59.5. A&M is favored by 8.5. They got a 34 projected total. Missouri is 25.5 projected total. You think Texas A&M is going to lay an egg after coming off a big win versus Bama?
Yeah. I'm hearing that a lot today. But the big talk in this game is the Missouri rush defense. Missouri's rush defense is giving up 286 yards a game. That's one of the worst in the nation. I actually don't have the rankings in front of me here, though, but we've seen what Tennessee did to him 2 weeks ago. And we've seen what Evans did. That was the day Jabari Small got hurt. So all the talk is about Texas A&M, the running game, and the really good A&M value. And there is a lot of good value, actually. I mean, led by Isaiah Spiller. Spiller's 6'6". Probably he's got the best matchup. I don't think he's in the best spot, but definitely has the best matchup of 6'6". He's in play. Then you got the RB2, Devon Cheney. He's 5'1". If he was a little bit lower, I'd be all over him. But still, I mean, he's a sophomore. He's a playmaker. Let me see. He's got double digit touchdown every game, either receiving or running the ball, averaging 6.6 yards per carry, 9.6 yards per reception. And I guess the question is this going to be like, if Jabari Small didn't get hurt in a Tennessee game, we would have had a huge game, I think, between Evans and Small. And is that going to be, does that put a Cheney in play?
Did Tennessee end up with 350 yards rushing that game?
Yep, and that was all Evans. And that makes you wonder, if Small didn't get hurt, would both of those guys been up over, 150 yards? So I think Cheney's in play. Of course, Spiller's, pretty much a near lock. But I think Cheney's, if anything, a great GBP play. Jalen Weidemeyer, 3.9. Definitely a sub 4K. Definitely in play. Who else? We got Aeneas Smith at 4.4. He's cash borderline GPP. I mean, he's at 42 targets, team leader in targets, 26 receptions, lead the team in receptions. He had a huge game against Bama last week. I just had actually Smith's number against Bama last week. He caught 6 balls, 85 receptions, 2 touchdowns. I mean, remember, now this is not, you're going to see a bit of a drop off this week, but I think Smith's in play with Weidemeyer. The quarterback, Zach Calzada. That's my other question is, Calzada is 6'3". Because this is a weird quarterback slate, I think. There's only, I've heard talk and GDPs of some people going like running back and Superflex this week. I don't do that. Maybe GPPs possibly, but I have actually a little bit of interest in Calzada. Because remember, Missouri's defense is terrible. And Jethro Franklin got fired. He was only on the job by 6-7 months, seems like. We know what they're allowing per nation. We saw what Austin Aune, I talked about him last week. They let Austin Aune go with 305 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was 16 for 26. A lot of it was garbage time. But now they get this kid, Zach Calzada, who's fresh off his upset of Alabama. So Calzada had a good game against Alabama.
Yeah.
31 for 31.
He looked 10,000 times better against Alabama than he did in any other game this season. He actually looked, really good last week.
Hey, and the kid needs to get experience. You couldn't ask for better experience than Alabama. He had 3 touchdowns. He had 1 pick. He finished at almost 24 DK points. Of course, it was season highs for him. But most week, he hasn't looked like that fantasy quarterback. But this week, I really think he's also faced Arkansas and Mississippi State. And, there are no pushovers either. So I think, if anything, it gets easier for him week 7. Travel to Missouri, $6,300. It's one of the worst teams in the nation. I think is a good value. So I know there's a lot of talk that Calzada sucks, no matter what happened last week. Hey, the 9.5-point favorites. And if Missouri's offense does keep this close, you could see a decent game here from Calzada. I'm not saying run out play him in cash, but I do have some interest in Calzada as a GBP play at that price. It's a decent price at 6.3. Other side, you got Tyler Body. He's a volume eater. The problem is this week is there's so many good running back options. And when Body is sitting at 8K, I just think that anything great GPP play, he's a stud. Last week he ran over the North Texas for 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 17 rushes. A little bit of a upstep going to Texas A&M this week, but Body is almost matchup proof. But the way this slate's going this week, to me, he's only GBP play pretty much because of his price. But somebody tells me going to use him in cash. Great. He's a great player, and that's pretty much it. I think it's all about Spiller and cash. David Cheney, Weidermeyer, little Nia Smith, I think probably all GBP plays, and then Tyler Body.
Yeah. Is that all you got for this one?
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the next game on the slate, we got LSU at home as an 11.5 dog to Florida. It's a 59.5 game total. LSU's got 24, Florida 35.5.
So pretty much LSU's falling apart here. Their whole offense is falling apart. Boutte is now out for the year. So expect Florida to – what's Florida? 11? You said 11.5. 11.5 favorite. Deion Smith is not practicing. I see I guess first of all, just looking at LSU, Deion Smith isn't practicing. I see. So there's no cash plays here. If anything, I have some interest in Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas Jr. He's a freshman. He's only 3.7, so he's sub 4K. I think he's a great value. Is he cash play? No, but there's not many other places they can go. You got Jack Beck at 5.5. He's a little bit expensive on DK. He's a tight end though. A lot of targets last week. FanDuel, if I remember FanDuel, he's a really good value on FanDuel. So play him on FanDuel on DK. I'd have some more interest in this kid Brian Thomas at 3.7. Anybody else? Tyrone Davis Price, big game last week. He actually ran all over Kentucky, but also it was also Kentucky. He touched the ball 22 times, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns. But you're not going to expect that every week from Davis. The week before that, he only touched the ball 5 times. The week before that, 13 times. The week before that, 6 times. So anything far out GDP multi-entering. And that's pretty much it for LSU for DFS. Yeah, especially when there's so many good running backs this week. You even think of Davis. On the Florida end, they rotate too much. All these guys could be decent plays. All these receivers, guys like Trent Whitmore, Justin Shorter, Kenori Gamble. But you never know. You never know where they're going to go. So GBP plays. Emory Jones, I have a little bit of interest. The quarterback. Once again, like I said, there's not a lot of great quarterbacks this week, but GBP play only. What's Emory Jones? 8.3. He's a little bit too high. If he was, 7.3, I'd have a lot of interest, but GBP only.
Not much for this game, huh?
No.
It would usually this is a big SEC game, but with the 11.5 point favorite Florida, I did
Butte being out.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up, we got another big SEC matchup. We got Arkansas coming off that big loss versus Ole Miss.
Right.
A 5.5 point favorite over Auburn at home. Arkansas is 29.5. Auburn is 24 and a 53.5 game total. What do you think about this Arkansas team? You think they're going to roll it up on Auburn?
I don't. Pretty much, I think Arkansas. So they're in Arkansas, right? Okay, they're in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Big game against Ole Miss. Now they're kind of like back to reality against this Auburn defense. There's no place here I'm going to be looking at, for cash, especially no core plays. Who do I bet interested on the Auburn end? Not much. Bonix is Bonix. Demetrius Robertson, he's only 4.5. I mean, he was 4 from 59. He leads the team in receptions and touchdowns, but he's only got 231 yards on the season. But he did have a decent game last week. So 4th play against his old team, Georgia. So he might have a little bit of a little extra ambition in that game. He's the only one I'd be looking at on the Auburn side because of the price. Arkansas side, I do have a little bit of interest in. You got two running backs. They finally looks like they're giving Raheem Sanders some burn now. But the main reason I'm interested in Raheem Sanders is his price 3.4. So is Raheem Sanders? They call him Rocket Sanders. Is he the real deal?
He looked good last week.
He got 17 carries last week, right? So Arkansas. So let me see here. So Arkansas ran for 350 yards against the Rebels. Sanders touched the ball 17 times, 139 yards. He also caught 3 balls out of the backfield for 26. He was the one. He did fumble the ball in the second quarter, I believe. So he did fumble the ball, but whatever. That's special mistakes, and it was costly. But if you watch him, he really was. He got his chance. He was really running up with a purpose that game. He only played 6 games in his career, but they've been talking about this kid. This kid's a stud. I like the price 3.4. Is he cash play? Probably not. I mean, they still got Treylon Smith there, who's 5.3, $5,000. He had 11 carries last week and a touchdown. So if anything, it's probably going into more of a timeshare. Spence is a stud. But man, Sanders is cheap though. I like to use him. I'm just afraid. I think that if anything, he's more of a GBP play unless we get more news that he's going to get more, more burn or not. And once again, it's not a great matchup. So he's got a great value, but it's not a great matchup. I don't mess with Auburn too much in DFS, the Auburn defense. But
yeah. What do you think about KJ? I mean, he's from right up the road from me.
He is. That's where he's from.
Really? Yeah, Sardis, Mississippi. It's only about an hour from where I'm at.
Well, he's back below 8K. Once again, he's okay. He's an okay play. I mean, is he a core play? No. He looked really good last week. Great GBP combo, KJ and Burks, because Burks is a stud. 6.6 fair price for Treylon Burks. 3 of his last 4 games, he's got 25 DK points or more. 3 of his last 4 games, and the one game he did was against Georgia, and nobody scores points against Georgia. So this is more of a GPP game to me. Jefferson, obviously the kid's talented, but I just think there's a couple other plays that I'd like better at that price. But if you're running some GPPs, run some combos with KJ and Burks. Said 7.5 is not a bad price.
Yeah. Anybody else in this game you looking at?
No. Nope. GPP game.
All right. Next up, we're head out to Texas versus Oklahoma State. We got a 60.5 game total. Texas is favored by 4. They got a 32 and a quarter implied, and Oklahoma State is at 28 and a quarter implied.
I do like this game. So let's see. Start with Oklahoma State side. Jalen Warren. Jalen Warren to me is a stud at 7-1. This guy's getting massive usage, massive volume. To me, he's a core play. Right now, he's one of my cores of the slate, just because of his price. Now we got Bijan in this game too, and I like Bijan. But think about Jalen Warren right now. He's on pace. I just saw some numbers. Now he's ran the ball 115 times this season. He's on pace for 299 carries. That's assuming they play a bowl game. That's more than any other OSU running back beside Barry Sanders, Chuba, Thurman Thomas, Ernest Anderson. That's some pretty goddamn good company.
Yeah, that's a couple Hall of Famers.
Yeah, you can't look at that price 7-1. The problem is he's going to run out of gas eventually. Are they running him too much? He had that game against Boise State and Kansas State, Baylor. He rushed 32, 27, 36 times. So there's also a bunch of injuries those games too that were forcing the run the ball, but he's getting crazy volume. He is involved a little bit in the passing game. Typical Mike Gundy. The only 1 or 2 players that go with this year. It's pretty much Sanders and Warren, but love Jalen Warren at 7-1. I'm just going to run him every week probably until the wheels fall off, and they probably will. So you don't have to worry about him getting bolstered either. Where Robinson, we've already seen that happen in Texas. So Warren's going to get, he's going to be in the red zone. They're going to give it to Warren. So I like Warren as one of my top plays. Who else we got here for Oklahoma State? I actually like Spencer Sanders at 7-1. He right now, Sanders is one of my top quarterbacks as like my super flex spot. He's got rushing equity. He does have Tay Martin back. I think he's going to play for cash, especially if it becomes a shootout. And normally I wouldn't be saying Sanders is a top cash play, but this is not the greatest slate for quarterbacks. You'll see as we move on, there's not a lot of great quarterbacks at decent prices. Besides Howell, which is going to be Howell's maybe his main quarterback, or quarterback 1. So I like Spencer Sanders a lot this week. His stats have been, been decent. It's Spencer Sanders. To me, I've used him a lot. He did have the game against. I guess it was last week. He did throw 3 picks against Baylor, but that was his first pick since week 1. We saw the week before that against Kansas State was capable of 244 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. So I like Spencer Sanders this week. Now you got a value here, Rashad Owens at 3-2. That's a real solid value. This kid was pretty much playing all the snaps. He was pretty much came in after the Braden Johnson injury, started playing against Baylor. See 5 targets, 3 receptions. Against Kansas State, 5 targets, 3 receptions. And at 3-2, you can do a lot worse than Rashad Owens. There is a question, though, I think a lot of people are asking. I actually had some questions in Discord earlier, some DMs. Would you play Sanders and Jalen Warren together? And I think you can in a slate like this. I think there is enough to go around and say like this. So I like this game. That's the Oklahoma State side. And on Texas, it's all about Bijan. Bijan's great. At 8-9, I think you got like 3 or 4 great running backs. Bijan, you got Warren this week. You got Kenny Walker the third. I just don't know if you can get up to 8-9 for Bijan when you want to play guys like Sam Howell at quarterback. Bijan is always in play. If you have the money, you play him. He's matchup proof. But that's pretty much it on this side. Xavier Worthy, 7-4 GPP play. I don't like that. I think the price is a little bit high, but he had the great game with Oklahoma last week. Josh Moore, which you talked about in last week's show, we said he was due. He actually came in for 2 touchdowns. He's cheap at 4.8, GBP only though. And Jordan Whittington is out now for the season, which is, I'm assuming, is going to bring in Marcus Washington, who's only 3K. So that's kind of a dart play. So look for Marcus Washington at 3K, taking Jordan Whittington's spot as probably, one of the top darts of the day at $3,000.
All right. Anything else with this game?
No, but I like it though. It's a couple plays. There's Sanders, Jalen Warren, and Bijan, pretty much probably a GBP.
Yeah, this is one of the higher totals on the slate, it looks like. Next up, we have Cincinnati favored by 21 against Central Florida with a game total of 56.5. Cincinnati's expected 38 3/4. Central Florida 17 3/4. What do you think about the Bearcats? You think they're just going to beat the crap out of Central Florida?
Yeah, and third prize 39. Third prize almost 40 points. I like Desmond Ridder. Always in play at 8-1. He's not my favorite play. He really hasn't had that huge game yet this year. I'd rather probably play him in a closer game than this. That's the only thing that kind of pushes me off him as a top play this week. And but always in play, especially GBPs. You hook up Desmond Ridder with like Alec Pierce. Even the guys like like a Michael Young Jr. who actually last week, I think Michael Young Jr. played all snaps last week at 4 or 5. But he doesn't have the upside for cash games. But Michael Young Jr. 4 or 5 GBPs. Alec Pierce 6'8", probably 20 other plays this week to play for cash. But always in play. Who else we got out at Cincinnati side? Jerome Ford at 7.2. Probably GBP play, and a lot of people probably saying, "What do you mean? Ford's a good runner." Yeah, and he's going to be very low owned because when you got guys like Jalen Warren at the same price at 7.1, everybody's going to Jalen Warren, and the same with Spiller. So Ford actually becomes a probably better GBP play than Warren and Spiller because he's going to be so low owned at 7.2. So mostly GBP plays on this side. UCF. There ain't nothing there anymore. Jalen Robinson's out. If anything, you got a guy maybe like Ryan O'Keefe's but first you got Mickey Keene, Mikey Keene's a horrible quarterback. Ryan O'Keefe is top receiver, but he's okay. But you got Mikey Keene throwing to him. That's it. There ain't nobody in UCF. I'm even looking out for GBPs. If anything, it would be like an O'Keefe, but that's it. But Cincinnati side, Ridder GBP, Jerome Ford, great GBP play, and then Alec Pierce, cash / GBP, probably more GBP.
All right. Next up, we got a lower scoring Big Ten game matchup. We got an implied total of 48.5. Indiana is the dog, expected 22. They're a 4.5 point underdog to Michigan State, who's expected 26.5. You think Walker's going to score us 50 points again?
And actually, first, somebody's comment out of YFC hoodie. Damn right it is. I said at the beginning of the show, this is our new YFC colors, this maroon color. So check it out, Lady Black. I just saw in the chat. Okay, sorry, Wes. I actually like this game, and yeah, it's a little low at 48, but Kenny Walker III. Now, Kenny Walker III is only 6'7". This is crazy. Is it the greatest matchup? No, but I got
Didn't he score like 50-something points just a couple weeks ago?
He's having a crazy season. Now let me see. Now, most people know he's a Wake Forest transfer. He leads FBS now with 152 rushing yards per game, more than 20 yards better than any other running back. He's averaging 7.1 yards per carry, which is actually the best among FBS runners with over 100 attempts. He's on pace for 2,000 yards this year. If he can do that, he's going to be All-American and even more. So Walker is matchup proof. Like I keep saying, a lot of running backs in this slate. But to me, Walker at 6'7" is a core, and Jalen Warren at 7'1" is a core. Two great plays. That's why it's hard to play Bijan Robinson in the nines when you got Walker 6'7" and Warren 7'1". And then we're not even talking about Isaiah Spiller again from A&M against a horrible Missouri defense down there in what's Spiller 6'6".
6'6".
So you got to make some decisions here. And then I guess the question is, can you use Spiller, Walker, Warren? You can use one in that flex. It's probably going to be tough, but I'm trying to make it work. Anybody else from Michigan State? Jalen Naylor has turned into a damn stud. They are Michigan State is 6-0 in a season. And right now, I mean, Kenny Walker's getting all the attention, but Naylor's having a good year. Peyton Thorne now is throwing back-to-back 300-yard games. Four scores, one pick. And Jalen Naylor, they call him Speedy Naylor, actually. That's his nickname. And the past 2 weeks now, he's going Rutgers 221-3. In Western Kentucky, the week before that, 8 for 128 and 0 touchdowns. So now they come in, they get an Indiana defense ranked 60th in the PFF coverage grades, 91st in pass rush. Like I said, it's not the greatest highest total, but it's kind of hard to pass on Naylor at 6'2", the success he's having. I'd have no problem using him in cash, maybe a little bit high, but definitely Kenny Walker on a Michigan State side for cash. Now, Indiana, it looks like from everything I'm seeing, hold on. That it looks like Penix is out, but probably gonna be out, which kind of interests me though, because if Penix is out, and I don't think it's confirmed yet, I do have interest in Jack Tuttle at 4.9 as a quarterback, possibly even Superflex. Now, I made that statement to Brandon Lewis. I'm going to ask it week 2, but Jack Tuttle is not a bad quarterback. We saw what happened last year when same thing happened. Penix got hurt. Now, what's Penix injury? He separated the joint in his throwing shoulder. So Tuttle came in last year when Penix was injured in the Maryland game, and he came in and helped them win, and then had a huge win over Wisconsin. That was ranked 14th in the country last year. He did well. So let me see. He went 13 for 22. 130 yards and 2 touchdowns in that season. At 4.9, all you pretty much need is Tuttle to do is rush a few yards. Just don't get negative yards. Fall into the end zone, score maybe, and that's it. You make a value at 4.9. So I do have some interest in Jack Tuttle as long as if he's starting. And we've talked about it a lot in the Discord and the college football room, where it doesn't seem like this year anybody's playing these big quarterbacks. We saw that happen with Tuisco. Everybody played Corral. Some people played even Corral and the Bama quarterback. It's most of the guys that are winning these GVPs are playing the cheaper quarterbacks, just getting enough points to make value, and then going big time with the receivers or running back. So I like Jake Tuttle in this game. Fry Fogel GVP play at 5.3, not a bad call, but that's pretty much it. So Kenny Walker 30, great play, core play. Jack Tuttle, I'm actually using him in cash. A lot of interest in him. And Jalen Naylor, cash/GPP.
All right. Next up, we got another lower scoring Big Ten game with Nebraska visiting Minnesota. We got a 49.5 game total. Nebraska is favored by 4.5. Minnesota at home is expected 22.5, and Nebraska is expected 27. I've heard a lot of things about the Martinez kid for Nebraska, the quarterback. What do you think?
So first of all, let's start with Nebraska. We'll start with Amart then. He's been really good, actually. And Nebraska's a good team. They've even lost some close games. We know Amar's going to run. He's got some experience. And actually, before you said, I just had his numbers pulled up too. Out of his last, I think 4 out of his last 5 games, he has thrown over like 240 yards. So I think pretty much Amart is in play almost every week, really. As long as his price, stays down below 8K. What's he, 7.9? So I like the kid. He had a big day he pretty much had a big game last week. I mean, he was 18 for 28, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns. I had that turnover though that kind of put a damper on his day, and then he ran 8 for 38 in a score. So I always like Amart, 7.9. Can you make him that super flex play as your second quarterback? Possibly. At 7.9 is a little bit high, but you want all these highest running backs too. So, but yeah, I meant to say, so at the last 4 or 5 games, he's thrown for over 240, which is pretty damn good for Amart. He had, let me see, 291 against Michigan, 248 Michigan State, 289 Oklahoma, 242 Buffalo, 254 Fordham. The only game was Northwestern, only had 202. So, yeah, Amart's in play, cash or GPP. The big question in this game is going to be what to do with this running back for Minnesota. Mo Ibrahim's out for the season, and now Potts is out for the season.
What's this kid, $3,900?
And that's the question is how much burn is he going to get? How many touches is he going to get? I've been doing a lot of research today, trying to find out how much value. Like if I know this kid's a workhorse, Marquise Irving his name, if I know he's a workhorse, he's locked in at 3.9. And he comes from a decent pedigree. In his high school, he's a really fast kid. Let me see over his in high school, he rushed 2,500 yards, 35 touchdowns in his last 2 seasons. Also had 405 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. Right now, Minnesota doesn't have a lot of backs to feature. I mean, it's pretty much this is Irving's chance to shine. And we do know it's a run-heavy team. We've seen it with Mo. We've seen it with Potts. They're averaging 45.2 rushing attempts a game, 193.6 rushing yards per game. They're the 10th best run blocking unit in the nation. And right before him, Potts was averaging 25 DK points a game. So if Irving does get some burn here, and he does get, 15 to 18 touches or even more, he's in play. Because we know what Potts did. We know what Mo Ibrahim did. I really think Irving could be a really interesting leverage play this week at 3. What did you say? It's 3.9, right?
Right.
So,
how many rushing yards did Michigan have on Nebraska last week? Was it a lot?
On Michigan, I don't have it in.
No.
I did have it in front of me.
Didn't they run the ball a lot against Nebraska?
Michigan. I'm trying to think. That was Masson Hall and Quorum last week, and I'd have to look it up. I don't have the Michigan stats right in front of me. Just remind me before we got off the show. But
all right.
Nebraska right now is allowing 133.9 rushing yards a game, which is a pretty good rushing defense. Not even on a touchdown per game. So, but once again, when you got a team like Minnesota, that's all they're doing is rushing the ball. I don't know. It's a lot to give there. So I'd like to find out more information of what they're doing with Irving. How many touches that I can't find much, but man, at 3.9, we know we're going to get 50 touchdowns out of this kid. To me, he's a lock.
Yeah.
But it's tough though because
I would think at 3.9 you get 15 or more touches. That it wouldn't take much to get value plus there.
No, and so Nebraska obviously is no pushover rush defense. We're only allowing 133.9 on the ground, 3.9 yards per attempt, which right now on this slate, it's actually middle range in the slate per attempt, but rushing yards they're just still middle of the slate. Yeah. So if we know Urban's getting a burn, he's going to run, he's probably playable. The problem is though, all these stud running backs, who are you going to sit? You got Warren, you got Spiller, you got Kenneth Walker third. There's probably too many running backs this week that you want to play. That's going to be the problem this week is which running backs you're going to play. But Urban is a name to keep an eye on as we go into Saturday. I'm looking for some notes on some of his college boards and stuff as well. We hear more about Irving and how many runs he's going to get. So could be a great play. That's it for that game.
All right. Next up, we got Kentucky going to Georgia for a butt whooping is what they're fixing to get. Implied game total is 44.5. Georgia is favored by 21.5. They're expected 33. Kentucky 11.5.
To me, it's the type of game where you just move on and you don't play any of these guys. I don't play Georgia. If anything, maybe as a mirror white or something, but no Kentucky. Georgia's one of those once in a generation defenses. You just don't. You move on and go to the Miami game. To my Hurricanes.
All right, next up, that sounds good to me. I think that's Georgia will pitch a short shutout versus Kentucky. Next up, we got North Carolina at home versus the Hurricanes. They're a 7.5 point favorite. This game has got a pretty good total of 63. North Carolina 35.25, and Miami at 27.75. What do we got in this game, Pete?
Call me a homer, but I do have some interest in Tyler Van Dyke. Tyler Van Dyke at 6'9". Let me see now. It's been a lot. You just lose me? Can you guys hear me? Okay. All right. So this Van Dyke kid, he's had kind of a whirlwind the last couple of weeks. So he made his first start out of 25th against Central Connecticut. 5 days later, he goes to play Virginia at Hard Rock Stadium. Now he gets to play North Carolina, which is going to be a huge experience. But it's actually their first road game of the year for Miami because Alabama was a neutral site game. So 2 games. He's got 25 for 41, 473 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's ran the ball 14 times, 6 yards, whatever. 24. He did have a 24-yard run there. To me, those 2 games were pretty much getting used to the offense, growing a little bit. Now he gets Carolina. That's a pass defense to me. That's a little bit soft. They've been inconsistent. They rank 109th in the country in team efficiency. They're allowing opposing offenses to allow 66% of the passes while tossing 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Actually, Georgia Tech's the only AC team that is worse in passing efficiency than North Carolina. They're actually the 3rd worst coverage in the ACC. So they rank 55 among the 64 Power 5 teams in coverage. Now, I'm not sitting there telling you Tyler Van Dyke is the next coming, but I do have some interest in the kid. I'm looking at all his numbers. It's his team now, and he's nobody looking over his shoulders now. Isaiah Belts is hurt. let me see. And anybody saw him last Thursday, we're saying that he's a pro style kid, but he looked really bad at the beginning of the game. But he actually started throwing. He started the game throwing 1 for 6, 5 yards. But then pretty much once he found his bearings, and he was pretty much a shrimp in that near comeback where he looked like he's developed a rapport with Charleston Rambo, developed a rapport with Mike Harley. He completed 10 of his last 12 attempts in that game. So I have interest in Van Dyke. Now, against CCSU, I mean, he was 10 for 11, 270 yards. It's a different story. But with that small sample size, I think there is some hope here for Van Dyke. So I do have interest in this kid at 6'9", cheap price. Once again, North Carolina is not the greatest defense in the world. They're soft. Charleston Rambo, I think, is a solid value at 6. I think I actually call him a value at 6'1". He's the one there. Cameron Harris, 6'4", fairly priced. But once again, you guys, all these running backs near the same price of the Spillers and the Warrens, GBP only. So when Carolina is favored by a lot, right? So what's Carolina's favored by 7.5?
7.5.
7.5, right?
Yeah.
I like Van Dyke. I think he brings a different pocket presence than King's dual threat that might keep some teams like Carolina, off guard. So he's a 4-star. I don't mind him. But if anything, I'd be playing the Indiana kid, possibly Tuttle, as my super flex. But I have interest in Tyler Van Dyke. I know that was a long sermon about him, but I like him. On the Carolina side, Sam Howell, I think, is a core play. Top quarterback on the slate. He hasn't had the greatest season. He's been forced to run a lot, but a lot of it's not his fault. I don't have to give you all the stats on Sam Howell, top quarterback of the slate. Downs. Problem with Downs is he's 8'7".
All right. I think he was talking about Sam Downs, the North Carolina wide receiver.
All right. Wow. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi. Sorry. It's been storming here, but all right, guys. So sorry about that. So we're at North Carolina. Josh Downs. I think the decision of the day is if you're going to play Josh Downs, you're probably going to have to give up a running back. And right now, Downs is probably the top receiver in college football. Yeah, I did have his numbers up. Of course, I just lost them all. But he ranks top 6 both of the division receiving yards, 123.5 yards per game, catches 8.5. He's got 7 touchdowns. So Downs, great play. Howell, can you play Howell and Downs in the same lineup? Probably. Is that maybe a little bit too much Carolina? But both top plays. I'd probably rather play Howell. I don't think you get the Downs to the quarterbacks for a great play. So end of the day here, I like Van Dyke a little bit. Howell's got to be your quarterback one. And Downs is, you can play him your cash. But if you do, you probably got to give up a running back. That's it.
All right, next up we have Baylor at home against BYU. This game's got a 51-point total. Baylor is favored by 6.5. 28.5 implied for them. BYU is 22.25 implied. Is Algar going to be able to run on this Baylor team?
No, and Algar did not impress me last week. That was another problem there. He I don't think he did that great. And to me, this another slate, pretty much rest of his games, I was GPP slates, but games. Started with Baylor. I do like Bohannon. I don't think he's that bad of a quarterback. Especially at 6'3". I'm probably going to play one of these lower price quarterbacks in my super flex. But he's in my player pool. And then you can play him GPP combo him up with Tyquan Thornton, who's had some big games. I think Bohannon is probably cash viable at 6'3" for Baylor. I've said over and over again, this is not the greatest quarterback slate. So now let me see. Bohannon's the West Virginia game, last week's West Virginia game, he threw the ball 29 times, 336 yards, 4 touchdowns, huge game. He had some decent games for that. The Kansas game, 269, Texas Southern, 247. But then Oklahoma State is below 200. I like Bohannon. I think he's in a decent spot. I don't know, BYU, honestly, BYU is they're a 6-point dog, right? So I have no problem playing Bohannon against BYU. And BYU is giving up 238.2 yards in the air a game. So I like Bohannon. I actually do. I don't think he's my main lineup. Probably not, but I like him. Anybody else in this game? To me, this is one of those better real-life games and DFS games. Drew Estrada at 3-1. Drew Estrada's got 14 targets last 2 weeks. So 3-1, you can do a lot worse than that. So I don't mind Estrada for Baylor. I love the Baylor running back. So I'm an Abram Smith man, 6-1. Tristan Ebner, 4-8. Either of those guys could go wild, winning GVPs, but GVPs only. Honestly, BYU. I'm not messing with BYU on a slate. Not to put Algier down, but he just didn't impress me last week. Now watching him go crazy this week, but I'm not huge in Algier this week. Jaron Hall, nope. So if anything, more Baylor, but if anything else, it's more of a game to watch on TV and not play DFS.
All right, next up, we got another ACC matchup. We got Virginia Tech at home as a 5-point underdog versus Pittsburgh. 56-point game total. Virginia Tech implied 25.5. Pittsburgh implied 30.5. Doesn't Pittsburgh have that real good receiver? What's his name? Addison?
Jordan Addison. They got Kenny Heisman. So Kenny Pickett's always been my favorite quarterback in college. Now, what's Pickett's price this week? 8-4. That's always been my problem with Pickett. He's at the price though where he's always at that price where he's borderline. You can't play him, but Kenny Heisman's has been now his nickname all year, going for that Heisman Trophy. But he can run, but he can get you 30, 40 yards. He's always going to get 300 yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns. Always in play, but his upside always seems to be capped a little bit. So especially when he's 8-4, he is. Just numbers look like Pickett's got. He's got great numbers. So among quarterbacks in more than 20 attempts, 15 air, no one has completed more passes than Pickett, who's got 65% completion rate. Actually, the closest A mark at 52.4. So Pickett's in play 8-4. Jordan Addison, great receiver, probably one of the best receivers in college football. I said that earlier. I think tonight you're seeing 2 of the better receivers, and Calvin Austin and Tolbert. But I really think we talked about Jordan Addison a lot last year. He was one of the brand plays. But the problem is though, if you get to 8K, you're probably going to want to go to Josh Downs when Josh Downs is sitting here at 8-7. But Jordan Addison always in play, matchup proof. I'm not going to argue when you say you're going to play him in cash. But if I'm going to get that high, I'm going to Josh Downs. But I love Jordan Addison. A sneaky play probably would be Tasir Mack for Pitt. He's only 5. He's only 5'4", and if I'm mistaken, I think Max had touchdowns in his last 2 games. On the Virginia Tech side, I'm all about Trey Turner. I love Trey Turner. I think Turner's a great play at 5K. He might be a type of play you can slide in maybe as a cash play. He is gonna probably. The best play in his game is probably Trey Turner at that price. So Burmeister, not a bad play to quarterback. Don't mind him at all. But I like Trey Turner a lot. He may be able to get you because he's spending money up on Howell and running backs. Trey Turner may be a decent price receiver at 5K, possibly I think even cash. That brings down to our last game. Wow.
All right. Last but not least, we have another Big Ten low-scoring game. We got Iowa as an 11.5-point favorite at home over Purdue with a 43-game total. 27.25 Iowa's implied. Purdue 15.75 implied. I'm going to bet Purdue covers this spread.
Well, I just lost I don't know why I just lost my stats on this game, but it doesn't matter.
Woodson for Iowa.
Woodson, to me, I was gonna say he's the only play. I think Woodson's the other guy's matchup proof. This is another one of those great games you want to watch on TV. What'd you say? I was a 12-point favorite?
11.5-point favorite.
So I agree with you on Purdue covering. But I like Goodson. I think Goodson at 6'5". Once again, though, you got these other places around there. You got guys like Spiller, the same price. But Goodson's last 4 games, he's carrying the ball Penn State 25 times. No, he played Goodson last week, but they thought it was going to be another tough defensive ball game. Even before that, Maryland, 19 carries, 18 carries, 22 carries, Kent State, 21 carries, ISU, Iowa State. So another game that people were saying to me, a tough defensive game. Well, he still ran for 55 yards, though, but he did have a touchdown. So Goodson is in play. He didn't have a touchdown last week, but he had the 3 touchdowns against Kent State. And he had 1 against Maryland. GVP play only, but don't sleep on him. David Bell at 7K. David Bell for Purdue. Once again, you're getting up these prices. There's some other studs you can go by. I don't mind David Bell either. He's seeing almost 9 targets a game. Almost seven receptions, 109 yards. Bell's a stud. Against Minnesota, 120 yards. So there's some plays here. I just think they're just GVP only because you got a really low over-under, some decent defenses. I think, is this the lowest over-under on the slate?
Yeah, this is the lowest by 5.
This is the lowest.
It's the lowest. So, well, Georgia and Kentucky is almost 45. So, yeah, pretty close.
So, but there's some plays here. Sam Laporta, 4K, don't mind. Like I said, but Goodson, David Bell, both of them can be in plays and GVPs can actually do well. Like we saw last week when Goodson ran about 25 times and 3 targets, 2 receptions, 15 yards. So there's still some plays here, but GVPs only. Nothing for cash, nothing for cores. I think somebody actually mentioned in chat about David Bell, and it's a good point. Myron Kidd said that Bell could be a little bit strong, too big and strong for these Iowa corners. And Purdue's matchup, Bell is one of these guys that's matchup proof, and Woodson is probably close to it too. And that's it. We read that pretty quick. So I don't want to put you on the spot because I gab a lot. But do you have a top play? Is there anybody you see as a play you have to have?
The Walker kid for Michigan State is my favorite play on the slate. At
I agree.
66,000 something bucks for a running back that's going to get 20 carries, averaging over 150 yards a game. I don't see how you can go wrong there with Walker for Michigan State.
And I agree with you. I'm probably going to have Walker and Jalen Warren as my top 2 quarterbacks. I'm going to run Warren until he runs out of gas and wheel spar, which is probably gonna when he's got 115 attempts in 5 games. I'm looking for a Spiller, Walker, Warren as my 3 main plays, and then a Sam Howell. And can I fit these guys in? I'm not sure, but
all right. Back to what you were talking about earlier about the Tuttle kid at 4,900 at your Superflex. What if you find out that the Minnesota running back's going to get 20 carries? Would you play him there instead? And that way you can get the 2 North Carolina big guys.
GBPs possibly, probably not in cash. I don't run a running back superflex in cash, and I could be eating my words, but I just think there's more of an avenue for Tuttle to get to 20 DK points than a Minnesota kid. But it's a good question, because if we do know he's running, would I run the Minnesota kid and running back? I probably would. I would hate to sit Spiller, but that Minnesota kid, and even in a flex, would get you Josh Downs with Howell, and then Warren, and the running backs Warren and Walker, or Warren and Spiller if you want. So that Minnesota news is important, but I have no problem with somebody saying they're gonna run this Minnesota kid in superflex, and then you could probably get the 3 running backs you want and Downs and Howell. So I see what you're saying. I haven't played a running back superflex in cash. I never have, but GBP I have. And I've seen them won GBPs before, but I think you're safe for the quarterback superflex in cash, no matter what.
Yeah, especially in cash.
Good question. It's a really good question. It's a good call. And they're probably going to be people playing that this week, especially when you got this kid like that. When we see how Minnesota runs the ball, we see what they did with Moby Ibrahim, we see what they did with Potter. So this kid from Minnesota, this Marquise Irving, who's actually a good high school player, could actually do the same thing Trey Potts did. So I'm excited, interested to see how this kid's going to do. All right, so PrizePicks, and that's it. We get out of here. Let me call PrizePicks.
Yeah, let me pull it up too. Let me see where I see. Eventually, they'll have it where we can play college football and PrizePicks in Tennessee. The one weekend we were out visiting colleges with Jacob, I got to play PrizePicks in Kentucky, or college football in Kentucky. I actually won a bunch of money.
Yep, it's a college football is one of the softer ones for PrizePicks. You can always pick up 1 or 2 different decent plays. So quarterbacks. Sam Howell, 284. That's kind of low for Sam Howell. I think 284. I think Sam Howell over 284.
Jaylen Warren, his rushing yards is 101.5.
Yeah, that you take that and over, especially the volume he's going to get. Yeah. What about the Spiller over 99.5? So I take Spiller over 99. We have agreed both of them. So take Spiller and Warren overs. I'm still on. Okay. What about receiving yards? Anybody receiving yards? Trey Turner, 66.5.
These are
let me see. I said Turner's numbers pulled up. So 66.5.
Hit
80 versus Notre Dame, 102 versus Richmond. Yeah, Trey Turner. And
here's one I like. Jalen Wildmeyer for Texas A&M over 3 receptions.
Yeah, I mean that's yep. Yeah, I take that one. Over 3.
Wildmeyer.
Yep. Nope, I agree with that. And then the other one, what's the other one? Just said I take the Trey Turner over on his receiving yards. And what do we got for receptions? Anything on receptions?
Yeah. What do you think about the Rambo kid over 5.5?
That's probably a tight one.
That's a tight one.
Yeah.
Downs, they've got him at 8.
I'm not touching that.
Let's see. Who is the other one? You said Smith for Texas A&M. They have him at 4. I like that Traylon Burks over 4.5.
I think that Burks over 4.5 is fair. You can take that over 4.5. Yeah, I can dig that. All right, that should be enough.
That's
So we got,
that's the ones that I see right off.
How one jumped out at me, 284 over. We like that one. Rushing yards, I think.
It was
Warren and
Spiller. Warren and Spiller
over. Yeah, definitely. Both of them.
And then the two Texas A&M
the Weidermeyer.
Yeah, over 3 receptions.
Receptions.
That's my favorite on the receptions.
All right, we are good. We made it, look at that, a little over an hour. So Thursday night, tomorrow there'll be article for Friday slate, article for Saturday main. We'll do the Saturday 7 p.m. What else we got going on? There's so much going on. So we got MLB playoffs still going. I'm still pissed I didn't get a lineup in this week. It better not affect my little. I'm trying to get those crowns for how many, a certain number of 200 days or whatever it is. But
they lowered
it.
They lowered it to 193. Yeah,
I was up to maybe like 180 or something. I have to look now.
Missing
tonight might have screwed me.
Yeah.
What's like 25,000 or something? K's or something? 25,000.
Yeah, it takes you all the way up to where they give you a couple bucks every day for a reward.
That's not bad. All right. So anything else? I don't think so. Good luck in your golf and big weekend NFL coming up. Watch the NFL shows. NFL Live, 11 a.m. on the same YouTube channel.
Yeah, Devin and Mike have been killing it.
Yeah, we've had some really good NFL weekends. Really, I don't think we've actually lost an NFL weekend yet.
No.
So, in college, I lost that weekend with the Brandon Lewis, and I think that might have been it. I've had a couple of these weekday slates. It's been tough. Hopefully, it works out tonight. It started out well, and that's it. Thank you, Mickey, our producer. Wes, thanks for coming on. It's been good. It's been nice being
out
here
by myself. Lots of fun. Anytime. We'll do it again.
We are out of here. Deuces. Peace.
Later.